And this all comes as multiple Chinese warships have been spotted just off the coast of Alaska by the U.S. Coast Guard. Those 4 ships were seen right off. You see them right there on the map, which are technically found in international waters, but within the U.S. exclusive economic zone. Military officials shared that an American Coast Guard cutter met presence to ensure there were no issues. The ship spottings are happening just a week after the Chinese Navy began its annual joint patrol with the Russian Navy in the Pacific Ocean. The heightened partnership between China and Russia also comes amid a new report from the Wall Street Journal highlighting concerns that Moscow and ultimately Beijing have the capabilities to quickly adapt and defeat high-tech American weapons proven in Ukraine's fight with U.S. tools in its war with Russia. Here now for more insight is Bob Hamilton, head of research for the Eurasia program at the Foreign Policy Research Institute and retired colonel with 3 decades of experience in the U.S. Army. Thanks for joining us this morning. I want to start with that report on American weapons losing effectiveness in the war between Russia and Ukraine. Is this a sign that the U.S. should be worried about a potential direct conflict with Russia?
So good morning. Good to be with you. And a short answer, I would say no. The decreasing effectiveness of high-tech weapons, indeed any weapons in warfare, is part of a natural process that unfolds in wars, especially wars of high intensity like this between Russia and Ukraine, where you have 2 large, fairly advanced, technologically advanced militaries, one of which the Ukrainian side is supplied by the most advanced military technologically, that's the United States. So the adversary finds out things about the capabilities of weapons on both sides, and the adversary then adapts to be able to defend against these capabilities. And that's what we're seeing in Ukraine. So it's a natural process in warfare. It's a balance between offensive and defensive capabilities that unfolds in wars like this. The main thing we need to be doing is watching, learning, and then adapting our capabilities to overcome the defenses that the Russians have put in place.
How can we adapt today?
Well, there's specifically in the case of guidance systems for missiles, which is what the report you're referencing is about. Many of ours are GPS guided, but there are other types of guidance. There's laser guided missiles, which require a sensor to laze the target, to put a laser beam on the target. So that it's a little more difficult because it requires another platform in the air. There is radar honing, there is inertial guidance. So there's different types of guidance systems. And the other thing you can do is on the spectrum, you can adapt and use a different part of the electromagnetic spectrum. If the adversary figures out where you are in the spectrum and is able to jam or disrupt that part of the spectrum, you can often move to another part of the spectrum. So this is, again, just a case of offense and defense adapting to the capabilities of each other.
How is, though, a potential war against Russia or China different for the U.S. compared to, previous conflicts in the Middle East?
Yeah, well, the one major difference, of course, is it would be great power, large-scale combat operations, which is we fought in the Middle East, in Afghanistan and in Iraq. We were fighting for a couple of decades a counterinsurgency campaign. So we were fighting terrorism and insurgency. Well, that's a different type of war than this large-scale air, ground, even maritime in Ukraine integrated combat. It requires a lot more capabilities of different types. Things that especially the U.S. Army, we have just not been used to doing for a couple of decades. So we're going to need to adapt. I think the Army is adapting, but it's going to need more of certain types of capabilities. And maybe what we're seeing in Ukraine is less of the exquisite technological solutions to military problems that the U.S. prefers. That may not work in Ukraine. We may need mass in certain areas and certain types of capabilities because our exquisite technological solutions, as the report indicates, can be interdicted or interrupted.
As you said, the main thing we need to be doing at this point is adapting and paying attention to these headlines as well. Colonel Bob Hamilton, thank you for joining us.
Thanks for watching, everybody. Go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. Also, don't forget to click that red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.